Hey, Alexandre and Joshua Berger are here to talk about your film, Pratfall. Thanks for joining me. Let's just start off. Give us kind of your description. Alex, you wrote and directed this. What is Pratfall, and how did it come together?
Yeah, Pratfall is about Eli, played by Joshua. He's a New Yorker. He's dealing with some profound personal losses, and when we meet him, he's marching through New York City in a kind of a manic, sleepless state, and he's he he has a routine that kind of deals with this internal chaos that he has, and his character is juxtaposed with Joelle, who's played by Chloe Grassard, and she's a down on her luck tourist in Central Park from France, and she's kind of stuck in the park. She's broke, and she's looking for a way out of the city, and she kind of latches on to Eli, and the two of them, after some couple of problematic encounters, they embark on a sleepless tour of New York City.
So I'm making a guess here, but I find a lot of films from filmmakers are fairly personal. How did the story come about? The germ of the idea, where was it at, and how were you able to kind of expand it into a feature?
Yeah, I think coming off the heels of the pandemic, I think I had a lot of. At first, I wanted to make a film in New York. I've always wanted to make. Heavily influenced by New York films, and so I was thinking about that, and I also was thinking about making a film for Chloe and for Joshua, and so it was sort of custom for them as well. So those two things were important: New York and making a film with Joshua and Chloe, but also coming off the heels of the pandemic, looking for a film that could sort of be a commentary on personal connection and after such a difficult period, the need for connection.
Yeah,
I think that came about. That was probably the most personal aspect of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I think during the pandemic, that's the thing that struck me was the fact that I think we all realized that we can't live in isolation, and I think a lot of times, I guess it took us being forced into isolation to get us all to realize that we're all meant to be social people, and I think that's what your film really points out.
Yeah, that's it for sure.
Yeah. So how did okay, so this is your directorial debut. How did it get from script to production?
I had written a treatment, and again, I had made a short film with the actress Chloe in Paris the year before, called Sada, and went to some film festivals, and it did quite well. And then I wanted to make another film with Chloe, so I reached out to her about Pratfall, but I also had in mind the character of Eli to be played by Joshua. And I'd always been a huge fan of Joshua's work. I had, since Buzzard and Ape, and then I had seen his film Relaxer at South by Southwest, and so I reached out to Joshua with the short film that I had made, and also with the treatment for Pratfall, and he was available. So I was very, very fortunate in that sense to get him and such. But it was very short notice, so I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. So we kind of embarked on this adventure, this filmmaking adventure. Just took off to New York within just a matter of weeks after being able to cast Joshua, and so the very little preparation time, but and that's when the adventure started.
Well, yeah, Joshua, then let me ask you, you get the script. What was it that you resonated with, and what was it that made you want to say yes to this project?
Well, as Alex was saying, he did give me the treatment that I read, which was a great story. It was a very cool idea, but what really kind of got me excited and got me fully on board was when he first sent me his short film, Sada, which was incredible. I was like, okay, well, this guy knows what he's doing with the camera. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to capture images. He knows how to make the city a character in the film. He knows how to do all of these things. Then he said, I really like films, from like the Dardenne brothers and Cassavetes. And I was like, oh my goodness, how often do I hear this ever? You know, so I don't know how many opportunities that I would get to be able to walk around with a Parisian woman in New York and have somebody film it and capture it on film and tell that kind of story. So I don't know if people are making those movies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly Alex was and is, and so it was just a thrill to jump on board and be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most exciting part about the film is just the dialogue, the way you and Chloe communicate with each other. You know, like part of me was wondering, how is this improvised? But you know, I get a feeling it wasn't. But how do you make it feel so natural? Can you talk about? I assume there was a massive rehearsal process, but you know, how do you write for that kind of dialogue that just really feels off the cuff?
Yeah, there was a process. I mean, we talked through a lot of the scenes beforehand, and you know, when we got to New York, we spent some time walking through Central Park, and Joshua was in character as Eli, and we just talked through a lot of the scenes and developed a lot of the dialogue through that sort of a filmed rehearsal process. And then on the day of shooting the scenes, I would just call Joshua and Chloe separately and just give them notes and some dialogue, but not all the dialogue. I wanted them to sort of fill in the blanks, fill in the gaps. So there were some key beats and key lines that I was giving them and notes that I was giving them on the day to make it more natural. So there wasn't really a script per se. It was the treatment, and then on the day giving them more notes.
Yeah. There was a lot of improv. I mean, it was great. We would have Alex would provide us with a kind of an outline of what we're going with the story on that day, where these characters were at, and what we're doing in the moment, and it was really wonderful to have that direction. And he would just sort of let us go with it. We'd do one or two takes, and we'd kind of just work it out and just be there, be present in the moment. And Chloe was brilliant at just being in the moment as well. And we did it that way. So it was a lot of improv stuff as far as the specific dialogue stuff, but the scenes were guided and directed with the storyline.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, because certainly the Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, that's the improvisation, but with the comedic flair to it. So and I think that's what I like about yours, is that there is that kind of blurred line, because you're not going for jokes, you're going for the emotional beats of the scene. And it sounds like that's what you do, is you set the structure, and you kind of you have an idea of what the emotional journey of the two characters are. I mean, what has inspired you to write that way, or to see your filmmaking that way?
Well, I think in this was a kind of a unique film, but I think it really was just having the gift of working with Joshua and Chloe. They're just such amazing actors, and they brought so much to this. I mean, the improvisational elements of the talent they have was just extraordinary. And Chloe, even there was the scene with the bag that she has, and these different objects and things, and then she brought that to the film, and things like that were just that was natural and improvised, but it was just a unique process, and it was maybe in a way a showcase for Joshua and Chloe on this film.
I mean, okay, so our audience is, we have a lot of independent filmmakers who are trying to make it in the business, and not that I want you to reveal your budget, but my assumption, it was fairly low. What resources did you have available to say, hey, we can actually film this now? Is it mostly from your crew? How did you pull the production of it together?
Yeah, it was self-financed, and I had some budget in place, and we just went off and like I said, it was just a kind of an adventure, but it was. Yeah, I mean, it was just, like you said, a lower budget film for sure.
Yeah. So what were your challenges that you faced in terms of filming it? I'm just curious in terms of challenges you had as a low budget filmmaker, also the challenges you face actually shooting in New York.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was that I was basically DP, sound, everything. We had a very kind of a small inconspicuous camera, so we had the freedom to sort of roam around the city and have more flexibility in that sense. So that was, that helped a lot. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, there was the renegade guerrilla style film too. I mean,
that's essentially.
There was,
because you're in a lot of locations. So
So, but I think, well, I don't know this for a fact, but my understanding casually was that if you have more than 3 people, then you might get in trouble. So we kept it at 3 people the entire time, so that we could
that intimacy was really important.
We could avoid the NYPD and whoever else might show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh yeah, you were gonna say something?
No, just that I think that really worked beautifully. That to have just the 3 of us, essentially that intimacy, and we're able to just focus on the minutia of the moment, the characters, and
Yeah, I mean, because we talk a lot about, if you want to become a filmmaker, you have to make your movie, and you have to do it with what's available to you. And it certainly sounds like, not only did you use it with what's available to you, but keeping the production of itself bare bones.
Right.
And with the improvisational nature of it, was how easy was the editing process then, or was it easy?
I mean, I didn't overshoot. I didn't shoot too much. So I mean, the scenes were pretty controlled. So the improv was aspects of it was controlled. So I wasn't shooting too much. So the editing was I was editing actually while I was in New York as well. So I was trying to have an assembly cut even before I left New York, but it was pretty rough. But so the editing wasn't too bad.
All right. Well, okay. Let me ask you this then. You have a friend who wants to make a movie. Similar situation to you. What piece of advice would you give them based on your experience with Pratfall?
Yeah, I mean, I just if you haven't, just don't be afraid. This was like I said, an adventure. It was fearless what we did, and if you have an idea, just go for it. I mean, the tools are available at this point. And I think it's a lot easier to make a film now. If you're willing to wear additional hats, if you're able to do your own DP work, and there's that's what it depends on. I mean, if you're technically savvy as well, you could pull it off. But yeah.
And Joshua, in terms of filmmakers you choose to work with, what advice would you give to indie filmmakers in terms of how to approach actors and how to work with actors on a low budget level?
Well, I am certainly no stranger to working on a low budget level. I don't. In fact, you might go so far as to say I don't know any better. That's kind of my MO. But I would just say, you want to find people that are on the same page as you, that have the same passion for the same types of stories that you're doing, that care about, that you connect with, perhaps whether it is a specific genre or not, or just things that you have in common, and you can find those common bonds together, and then everything else is going to fall into place because you're going to be on the same page about so many things already that anything that does come up, you can be, referential towards each other and be, oh yes, very good. And then before you know it, you develop a shorthand in working with the filmmakers or the actors on both sides. So
yeah, it sounds like a lot of it is the idea of no surprises. You go on set and you know what's happening and what's expected of you. And I would imagine if a problem shows up, you're on the same team and you know how to fix it.
All right, preparing for the complete unknown. That's always a wonderful challenge, and it's exhilarating, and it's very rewarding as well when it comes together and comes to fruition. So
awesome. All right, so how can we all see Pratfall?
Well, we're here at the Manchester Film Festival. That's our international premiere tomorrow in the UK, and then we're screening in Paris next week, and we're going to have a theatrical run in LA starting on the 26th for 1 week, and
that's April, right? April 26th.
Sorry, April 26th. Yeah, and then VOD release has not been announced yet, but it's in the works as well.
Okay, well, amazing. Thank you very much for talking with me.
Hey, thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.